Hi friends, welcome to the Billy and Tilley show, live on YouTube, Facebook Live every Monday at the Corner Bank. My name's Billy the Greek, and my privilege and pleasure to be joined by our buddy Mr.
Claude Fay. How are you, everybody? Great to fill in for my old broadcasting partner, Joe Tilley, who's off on some great getaway down south. Boy, did he pick the right week for this, didn't he?
Yeah, well, Joe is an interesting individual. We'll have a couple of snippets for you a little later, Swiss. You enjoy the podcast.
No, absolutely enjoy it. You and Matty Joe enjoy it very much. And so the thing about the name, though, it's a great catch name, by the way, Billy and Tilley. I like that. So I don't want to disturb that trend. So my middle name is Emmanuel. So how about if we go with Billy and Manny this week?
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, are you okay with that? I hope it doesn't offend Joe, but just to keep it kind of going a little bit, right? And so, but as always, even without Joe here, a lot to talk about sports-wise. A lot went on this past weekend. Boy, those two NFL games, something else. And both of them into overtime, and both of them a little bit of controversy in both games. And of course, Leafs Nation's crying today because the Leafs lost again at home, and so lots to talk about. Raptors keep rolling at home, and so there's some great stuff to talk about. And before we get started, just want to remind you that the Billy and Tilley Show is brought to you by Taxperts Group. For all your tax issues, the Taxpert Group provides help from 3 established CPAs and 2 lawyers. That's taxpertsgroup.ca. So the more CPAs and the more lawyers, you're covered, man. You're covered wall to wall.
So wall to wall. We'll also have this podcast directly sponsored by our good buddy Aldo. You can contact for any real estate needs, either commercial or any other need that you might have. Please call Aldo at 1416 get Aldo. He's not only sharp at what he does, but he surrounds himself with a good team and a good bunch of characters down there. So for any needs, get Aldo.
And listen, I think some of the NFL refs in that New Orleans game, they may want to call Aldo because they may want to move after what happened yesterday. That was unbelievable. Of course, I think most people in the city and throughout Canada and everybody watching here on Facebook and YouTube, you probably saw the game or at least saw the highlights. It was a really good game. By the way, I'm a huge Drew Brees fan. I just think that this guy carries himself with class, and the guy, look at, he's 39, coming up on 40, and this guy continues to get it done. And we'll talk about the other guy who's in his 40s who did pretty well as well. But it was a great game. I mean, Billy, look, the Saints got off to a fast start, which I think a lot of people thought would happen. They're at home. The Rams have been a very good story since Sean McVay got there, and they had another great year, but they didn't get off to a great start yesterday. A lot of people thought that might be coming because the Saints were going to find a way to shut down the Rams' running game.
Absolutely.
And so the Saints have a pretty good 1-2 punch at in the backfield as well. So having said all that, they get out to a good start. The Rams, to their credit, bounce back, and then the play where basically the Saints are driving down in the last few minutes, and really all they have to do is run down the clock and then maybe kick a field goal, and see you later.
So the outrage is there is obviously on the pass interference.
The pass interference call. Now, first of all, for those who hate on the NFL or on the CFL because the NFL is a much better product or whatever, and by the way, I covered the CFL for 13 years on the sidelines for TSN, and I fell in love with the game all over again. It's a great game, but the one thing about the CFL that the NFL doesn't have is you can challenge a pass interference call, and it sounds like certainly Sean Payton and the Saints and other people around the game are going to challenge that in the offseason with the rules committee because that was a clear and blatant pass interference call.
Without a doubt, the pass interference call was clear and blatant. But that loss specifically should have never come to that point. That loss specifically lies on Peyton. Peyton has over the years been considered kind of a boy wonder. He's not a boy anymore. He's probably you probably imagine he's closer to a grizzled vet than he is McVay, right? Yeah. So he's always been considered to have one of a progressive offensive mind in his play calling. That's how he's been known, even as offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. That's how he came into the league. But this time he outsmarted himself. You know, sometimes guys that, and the Greek knows a little about this too, guys that sometimes are a little bit too smart for their own good. Sometimes, you know, you can't go to a casino and hit on 12s against the bus card. Sometimes you got to play conventionally. The minute you call the pass play on first down with a minute 50 left, incompletion changes the tenor of that whole game. He runs the ball, challenges the Rams to make a decision. You want to call a timeout? Burn their 2 timeouts, and then on third down, you want to play for the touchdown. You want to play for the first down. That's a different story. But worst case scenario, Rams get that ball back with a minute left, down 3. Situation came, they got the ball back with 1 timeout, minute 40. So Peyton, instead of crying about the referees, that was an obvious call. But that loss is strictly on you and the way that you call plays. You outsmarted yourself, and to see you cry afterwards, it kind of looked good on you. I'm not a fan, I'm not a hater. I don't really care, actually, because as you guys know, I called the Rams to win the game, but that's besides the point. Peyton needs to take some responsibility for that play call.
Oh, there's no question about it, and I'm sure Drew Brees, knowing the character that Drew Brees is as well, I didn't hear all the comments he made after the game last night, but I'm imagining that he would have also taken some of the hit for that because he's the one that threw the ball. And when you're right, at that point, you're driving down, you're in the red zone basically. All you want to do is just run the clock
and
down
kill the timeouts
and make them burn their timeouts. And for whatever reason, maybe they thought they saw something on the field, and the read was from Breeze that he obviously saw that maybe he could get that pass. And the other thing, though, is interesting that hasn't been talked about a lot was if that pass is completed. So forget the PI because that was clear and blatant. Okay. If the pass is completed, the receiver's going out of bounds, which means he's going to stop the clock.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's a little bit of that. So it was an interesting call for sure. But, I mean, there's no doubt that they blew the call. I mean, they blew the call. The refs all admitted. Peyton said in the press conference afterwards, he got on the call.
It looked a little different at live speed, though. Yeah. The way the ball, the direction of the ball that was thrown. Obviously, when they broke it down in replay, that guy got there about a second and a half too early, and a helmet to helmet.
And the helmet to helmet, there were 2 calls.
Way, right?
There were 2 calls, and this is what's making everybody scream. And I'll tell you something else that's come up as well, and it's not something that the NFL wants to hear about or any professional league wants to hear about. When blown calls are made like that in a big game like the NFC Championship game, in the NFL, which is the #1 league in pro sports in North America, when do people start thinking, are the refs in on some kind of tape? Because you have to wonder, how is it that nobody on the field, none of the refs, and let's admit,
but it is
there
only
are a lot of officials on the field. It makes you think Tim Donaghy
was that
right? That's what it makes you think. And I'm not accusing anybody, but that thought has to come up because when it's that blatant, where you not only miss 1 call, you miss a second call, and yet nothing gets done about it, and the league now looks terrible. It looks like they're left with egg on their face because they can't do anything about it. There's no way to challenge. They will review every single scoring play in the last 2 minutes, but they can't review a penalty.
If you start taking away we've taken away the human element to a certain degree, obviously.
Well, they did that a long time ago.
But how far do you want to go? The fourth quarter, especially of the latter half of the AFC Conference Championship, lasted about 2 hours. Yeah. Every second play was under review.
But here's and this is the great argument, isn't it, Billy? Don't you want to get it right? It's not just a regular season game. Now we're talking NFC Championship game for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Don't you want it right?
So if you want to get it right,
the human element, of course, is there for everybody. There is no doubt about that, and there's also no doubt that the league, with the rule changes and with video review, has taken a lot of the human, like all the leagues have. Baseball's done it now. Hockey's done it for a long time. So what? Should
baseball start calling strikes now?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Where's the line? Where do you stop? Where do you stop?
Every time something changes, everybody says, well, where's the line going to be drawn? But in this case, you have to get that one right. Now, does it mean that in the next play, maybe the Saints don't fumble the ball when they handle it?
Brees had the opportunity. Brees got the ball in overtime, had the opportunity to drive the field, right? So one play can change the tenor of a game, absolutely. But there's also 100 other plays. If the #1 credit to the Rams for my perspective, that was coming into the game, that was a suspect secondary. Yep. They shut down. What's a wide receiver from New Orleans? I'm forgetting.
Number 19.
Who is he, Brian? What's that? Jesus.
You're talking about Ted Ginn? Or
no, they're bona fide guys.
Watson?
No, Jesus Christ.
So now we're going through all the list here, and I apologize. So,
whatever the case is. Anyways, they shut him down. The secondary, Tilley played good, Peters played well, and that was in my opinion, the only questionable piece of that Rams team is their linebacker play, and it was exposed in the first half the way they couldn't handle Kamara coming out of the backfield.
Yep.
Right? They made adjustments. Secondary played good. Rams were full credit for that win.
No, there's no doubt. Listen, let's give the Rams some credit because they got that. And everybody said, well, they're down 13. The Saints had it when they was 13. No, they didn't. It was 13-0 early in the game. So credit to the Rams, who have been, again, a very good offensive-minded team.
Yeah.
Obviously,
and to McVay for the fake punt.
Yes.
The fake punt changed the whole momentum of the game.
So Sean McVay, give him a lot of credit. And how about Jared Goff, who, by the way, is the son of former Major Leaguer Jerry Goff, who played for the Expos.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
All right? He was a catcher for the Expos. How about the job he did? Because he was basically a nobody until McVay got there and resurrected his career. And how he brought that team back to the point where they had the chance to tie the game and then win it. And so give them a lot of credit. And so for the Rams, that's their first Super Bowl appearance since the Greatest Show on Turf. Yeah, right? So we're going way back now, like 18 years now since the last time they were in the Super Bowl. So congrats to them. On the other hand, the other team going to the Super Bowl, they know a thing or two about winning. The Patriots, I mean, that was another outstanding game. Again, a couple of maybe questionable things that happened there, but the fact is, the Patriots got up early to the credit of the Chiefs and Mahomes. They came back, but in the end, the what they're calling the master, the hoodie and the vet, and you talk about a grizzled vet, 41-year-old, and so they come back and they win this game, and they go now to their third straight Super Bowl. No AFC team has gone to 3 straight since the Buffalo Bills in the 1990s when they went to 4 straight. So what do we think about that win by the Patriots?
We think, in your time, can you remember a more banged up, less talented Patriot team to get this far?
Nobody gave them and listen, nobody gave them, even after they lost last year, right? Everybody said, that's it. That was their run. Their time's done. And look what they did.
I come on the show every week and I speak, especially when giving football picks, I talk about the heart of champions. Betting the Eagles a couple of weeks back and what have you. And I've gone against Brady the last 3 weeks. I eulogized him 2 weeks ago. The week before, I said Mahomes is taken. And the point of the matter is that is the heart of a champion. Belichick in that first half completely threw a defense that Andy Reid couldn't adjust to. They shut him down for the entire first half. Obviously, Mahomes caught up later in the game. But that victory was as much on scheme, was as much on execution, especially you factor in what's the defensive guy when he was with 3rd and 10 and the guy's offside for a neutral zone infraction, like plays like that. You use your mind. You're a Kansas City guy. You're 3rd and 10 3 times in overtime, man. At what point in time do you call a zero blitz? At what point in time do you go after this guy, get him on the spot? You give Brady time. You rush 4, you don't get to him. You're in trouble. You're in trouble, especially with Edelman getting free releases. Yeah. Right? You're in trouble. So.
But even when they were trying to rush everybody, I mean, Brady knew it was coming, and that ball was out of his hand within a couple of seconds.
Absolutely.
Like, that's what a veteran who's won, who's been in these pressure-packed situations, and credit to Mahomes, had a fantastic year, will probably be the league MVP. He just has never been in this situation, and it's a learning situation.
That was not on Mahomes. That was more on the Kansas City. That was more on the entirety of the Kansas City squad, both in terms of coaching and defensive personnel, right?
But as you saw, this was like a good old-fashioned boxing at the end there, because they were going toe-to-toe and round by round. Like one team would score, the other one would come back, they'd score. I mean, this was a great ending, and I mean the fact that New England didn't even allow the Chiefs to touch the ball.
So in essence,
in
essence, it was. You knew right when the coin flip wins the game practically at that point in time, right?
Yeah, well, with Brady at the helm, right? I mean, how do you
even if it goes the other way? You don't think Mahomes goes the other way the same way?
Maybe,
probably, right?
But the thing is, with a guy like Tom Brady at the helm, there's every opportunity, every likelihood that he was going to make something happen, and he made it happen quickly. And he's been there, done that, got the T-shirt. He knows how to play in these pressure situations, and so again, 3rd straight Super Bowl. And certainly gets a chance to redeem himself for last year. So the quick question is, who do you like, Rams, Patriots?
If you ask me today, I'll tell you the same thing I did yesterday. When I look at that New England squad, I see limited recognizable names. Van Noy on defense. Football, I can't name you another guy. I see Gronk with one leg limping around. I see Edelman over the middle, dangerous guy. I see Brady. I see a few offensive guys. But then I see the guy with the hoodie, and I say, you know what? This guy's a snake. This guy's a rascal. This guy's smart as can be, man. And I wouldn't put nothing past him.
Yeah,
moving
you can't
forward.
bet,
Nothing,
you can't bet
nothing
against
past.
him, right?
So it's beautiful. We kind of got the old grizzled veteran, and we got McVay, man, which is a beautiful contrast. We got Goff, we got Brady, we got a team on the rise, and a team that we had for dead. Myself, you probably Brian, everybody that sat here had the New England Patriots for dead, right? So who knows, right? And it also helps, like, don't kid yourself. It also helps that the Patriots play in the AFC East. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. That division's been rebuilding for the next 10 years.
You can come out of a bad division. You still have to win all those games, and they won on the road in Kansas City. That was a tough win, and that was a great win. So collectively, it looks like it could be a good Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it turns out to be a blowout one way or the other, because you never know when you get to a one-game situation.
Yeah.
But it's certainly the matchup is going to be
intriguing, absolutely.
Very intriguing, and so. We'll see, but I'm sure you and Tilley will have your picks next week. We've got a week to kind of digest it all and break it down, and so by next week.
We'll have something. We'll have something for.
All right, so how about breaking down what's happening with the Leafs? This team has just suddenly hit the skids, and it sounds like Toronto and Leafs Nation are just going to start crying now because they can't figure out, first of all, to lose is one thing. To lose at home consistently like they have been lately, and to lose at home to not so good teams, that's what's really got everybody's attention. So now it's 6 of 7 losses after losing to Arizona last night. And so Arizona, just as you heard Mike Babcock saying after the game, they just got outplayed.
Yeah,
and in the same way they got outplayed the other night. And so you can't blame Jake Gardner last night. You can't blame William Nylander. You get outplayed by a team. I don't care who you got on your team. You don't have a chance to win, and that's what happened. So everybody's asking, what's wrong with the Leafs?
So the first question we've got to ask ourselves is this a matter of personnel, or is this a matter of performance? Personnel wise, maybe the Leafs are not as good as they thought. Maybe they're not as good as Leaf fans expected them to be. The entirety of Leaf Nation's been starving for a winner. And the minute some offensive talent exists, the likes of which probably you haven't in your lifetime seen in terms of Tavares, Matthews, Marner. If we did an all-time greatest Leafs in 20, 30 years, 5 of the greatest 10 are probably playing on this team. Possibly, right?
Maybe.
Possibly. Right? When you're talking about lineage of Leafs, you're talking about Sittlers, you're talking about Mahovlich, and until you want to go back black and white times,
you
right?
want to go to the Sundin era. You want to go to the Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark era. I mean, those were good teams when they went to the conference finals.
And this is a good team too, but on paper,
this is a good team. This is supposed to be a good team, but you got to remember a couple of things here. And this is from my take on the outside watching this: is they're still a young team. They've got a couple of veterans on the team, obviously Marlowe, Anderson, he's been around a little bit now. But the core of this team is still young, and so the first step for them was actually to get into the playoffs for the last couple of years. That was important because getting in, at least you get your feet wet, you understand how much harder you have to work in the playoffs, how much more is at stake, how much more the other team is keying in on your key players. But now what's happened is the Leafs got off to a great start this year, and remember, for about a month, they did this without Matthews, and they didn't have Nylander until December. And so they were still winning. And I think teams have now figured out their formula, for the interim anyway, until the Leafs have to readjust.
Or they figured it out. They figured it out without a doubt on the power play.
Yep.
If you watch the way the power play is set up, I think one of the problems my eyes tell me when I watch it, these guys, especially on the power play, want to play pretty. They want to play pretty. They skate pretty. They want to play pretty. They play a pretty game. The Leafs do not play a gritty game. They don't have the personnel to play a gritty game.
No, they don't play a heavy game. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
We've had the conversations ad nauseum. If you expect to win, if you expect to be a championship club in any sport, hockey, football, baseball, doesn't matter. You got to have multiple dimensions, multiple levels, multiple looks. You can't have 5, 6, 7 pretty guys going around. Yeah. You need guys going in the corner. You need a guy to knock the puck. When things are not going your way, what do you have to do, puck? You got to shoot the puck in, take the body, create a little emotion in the game,
Absolutely.
Change momentum in a different way. You can't change momentum continuously through talent and talent alone.
Nope.
You need other dimensions. You need a guy like Kadri to go and put somebody, go and knock somebody over. You need another dimension. You need that physical element that's been missing all year. And in some respects, I believe that the Leafs, even themselves, when they look in the mirror, they know this. Perhaps they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Perhaps they understand as a collective unit right now they're not good enough to be a championship club, and they're waiting on Dubas to make a move.
Nor should the expectation. And of course, if you're a Leaf fan, you want them to win. Who doesn't want their hometown team to win? But you also have to be realistic about the fact that this team is miles behind a team like Nashville or Washington.
Miles?
Well, maybe not so much in talent, but the way that you talk about the way they play, the heavy way that some of these teams play.
Yeah.
A lot of people are looking at Nashville as probably the team that could win it all this year because they've got a solid team, but they have a heavy team. Yeah. And you have other teams that come in here, and as you mentioned, they have the gritty guys, and so you can talk about who they should get on offense, up front, top six forward, and that can be a gritty guy, like a guy like Wayne Simmons. I know you guys have talked about him in the past. And on defense, maybe they need another stalwart, stay at home. Now the game's changed. You can't just have a guy who stays at home and does nothing but try to hit guys, because you got to keep up with the faster.
Otherwise,
players.
we bring back Polak.
Yeah, well, exactly. They had guys like that. They had Matt Martin here, but they want somebody who's kind of that dynamic kind of player who can do both and play that two-style type of game. And those guys aren't easy to find because other teams aren't giving them those guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but you're right. You can't outskate a team all the time and try to win. The other thing that kind of gets my attention a lot about the Leafs is at times where they get pushed around and there it doesn't mean you have to drop the gloves. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of pushback when they get jolted around. You go and watch how when they play another team, if any of their guys get too close to the goalie or they hit one of their guys, there's instant response from other guys, and so from other teams. So
and for the average fan, that might not factor in. That might not factor in on ice, but you better damn believe that is known in the dressing room. That other people within the confines of that room understand that you need people, you need a presence. You don't need Tavares taking face washes every day. You don't need Marner doing the same. You need some guys out there to buy yourself a little space.
No,
not protection. We wouldn't. The notion is we talk about toughness. We want to bring back a don't we want. That's not what we're talking about. Toughness is an interesting word. It's a unique word. Toughness doesn't mean dropping the gloves. Toughness means corner puck battles. Toughness means knocking guys off the puck, breaking the cycles, changing the game, creating a little momentum in different ways. Leafs don't have that. They lack it. Frankly, the only guy that has it, if you've noticed over the years, is Kadri. He's not even playing that game. Kadri's decided he wants to play pretty too. Last time I see him throw a body check was on the first goal against Tampa Bay, knocked the guy off the puck. He's not who he's supposed to be. So the way that I break this down, if I'm Babcock, I go like this. I put Matthews, Tavares, and Marner, much like the Bruins put their three guys on one line, and then my third line is going to be moving forward. If we don't have any outside additions, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have Kadri, center, Brown, and Hyman. That's my checking line. Anytime I put these guys on the ice, their job is to go and bang and keep the puck out of the net, dump it in, and go and bang. And then I load my front three guys. I put Matthews at center, Tavares on the wing, and Martin. And then the other six forwards, I mix them in. I want a line that's going to shut other teams down, and then go and stop. I don't care what kind of checking line you have. You can bring back whoever you like. I don't know, who's the top checking line of your type? You put Martin, Tavares, Matthews, and Marner on one line. I don't care who you are. You can't stop that line. I don't believe the three elements they possess, right? So they're spreading them around. And let me ask you another question. How long have you been doing this?
Quarter century.
Quarter century. All right. So Greek comes prepared, right? So I got a special question for you. In 20 games, William Nylander in 20 games has averaged 15 minutes and 11 seconds of ice time. By calculations, hold on. What do we say? 15, 20? That's about 4 hours. So in those 4 hours, but if you put Carlton the Bear on the power play, would he have got better numbers than William Nylander? No, you can laugh, but if you put Carlton the Bear on the ice for 4 hours, stuck him in front of the net, would he have more than 1 goal, 2 assists? Possible?
Listen, and this isn't to defend or attack William Nylander. You're just trying to point out the facts here. The fact is he missed all of training camp. He missed the first basically almost 3 months of the season. And yes, he signed the big ticket contract, which is what he wanted and with what the Leafs obviously agreed to give him. But the fact is he was not up to speed, literally, with the rest of his team. I don't care how much he was working out back in Sweden,
or whether he was
with a junior team, or whatever you do off ice. The off ice training does not translate to on ice performance when you're playing at this level. So he had to catch up, and I believe he's still catching up. So again, it's not to defend him. You have seen glimmers of hope at times where it looks like he's getting his stride a little bit more. But there's a reason now why he's been bumped down to the fourth line because he's not there yet.
No,
but the expectations are here, and his game is about here. And it's maybe it's unfair, but the fact is you signed the big ticket. You knew what the pressures were going to be coming with signing that long-term contract where the expectations went up here. And yet maybe he's trying too hard.
Can you name me a softer player in the NHL? Can you name me a guy on the puck? You guys, Leaf fans, watch the game. Can you name me a softer player come to mind than William Nylander in the NHL? Can you name me one guy?
Well,
I don't know.
It's easy to single him out.
No, it's not easy.
Player,
it's not easy. If you guys look at watch the games yourself, name me one time, only one time, and if you can put it to me, Billy Georgiasakis at Facebook.com. Send it to me at 647-295-3324. That's my home number. That's my cell number. Text me, send me, share with me. If any of you people have seen William Nylander win one puck battle. If anybody has seen William Nylander throw one check, like, okay, man, like, I understand. I'm not here to pick on the kid. This is as much Dubas' responsibility as it is his. But the bottom line here is Nylander on the Leafs and his skill set, even at the best of times. The best of times, whatever that is, 20 and 40, that's the best of times, so be it, is redundant on the Leafs skill set. What we're missing is not Nylander's. Even if Nylander hits whatever pinnacle he'll reach in his life, Leaf have guys on the roster that will always supersede Nylander in terms of talent, in terms of minute plays, in terms of trust by Babcock. Well, Nylander will never get to the point in time where he steps ahead of Marner Matthews or Tavares. So if that's the case, why the hell are we paying this guy?
Well, even Kasperi Kapanen has basically supplanted him for that role that Nylander had the last 2 years. And Kasperi Kapanen, man, can he skate like the wind or what? But he battles.
He's got tenacity.
But the Leafs knew that when they're talking about Nylander in the last 2 years. You saw what he is. He is, as they say, he is who he is.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, he's not going to change. He might try to get a little bit more grittier, but that's not what they want from him.
No, that's not what they want.
They want him to go do the skill stuff that he's been paying to do and put the puck in the net.
You know what
and it's not happening. And he's the fall boy right now.
Yeah. You know what his greatest skill is? If you watch again, Leaf fans, if you watch the games, Nylander has one specific skill. If he catches the puck at his own blue line, he can transition and cross the other blue line with possession of the puck. Most of the time he goes around the net, mind you, and does a pirouette and then looks to dish it off. Same story every time. That's what William Nylander is. $6.9 million. Not only if Dubas has set a precedent, if he's $6.9 million, how the hell can afford Marner Matthews?
And Kasperi.
And you're going to lose Kasperi Kapanen, and you know what? You take away
have to trade him.
You take away Nylander's been anointed from the beginning. Kasperi Kapanen's faced a little adversity, traded from organizations, right? Fought a little adversity, plays a different game. If you took away the jerseys and the name and the image the media has projected on Nylander and Kapanen, who's the better player, man? And if it's not Kapanen, by a mile, right?
And they both had NHL dads who played as well, and the lineage is there, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt for me, Kasperi Kapanen is well ahead of Nylander, and not just because Nylander missed the 3 months. It's just the way they play.
Yeah, so without a doubt.
On the other hand, the other team that plays in the arena at Scotiabank Arena, as I call it, I'm trying to figure out. We're trying to find a nickname for the arena. So I've gone with ATM, the bank.
The bank?
Let's find. If you guys have a nickname, send them to Billy because everybody's still trying to find a nickname. Of course, when the Air Canada Center opened, everybody called it the Hangar for the longest time. The ACC. The ACC was the one that stuck, but there's no real nickname yet that I've heard that I like. What is it? The SBA? No, that's not going to cut it.
How about the $20 Brew Crew?
Well, maybe. I don't know. But I mean, I'm going with the ATM. But anyway, the Raptors have been cashing in at the ATM for the last 9 games, 9 straight wins at home. And listen, they've been doing this with basically piecemeal lineups at times, right? So Leonard hasn't played every game. They've been missing Valanciunas and they will for a few more weeks. Green's got a kind of a wonky back. Lowry's got a wonky back. And yet, these guys, tell me this, where would they be without Pascal Siakam? Because he has been unbelievable this year. But the team as a whole still has the most wins in the league. So think about this. With the lineup banged up and not having a full lineup for the entire season. They still have the most wins in the league. So where can this team go when everybody hopefully stays healthy? This has been a great story for the Raptors.
The perception again on Siakam, he's drafted late in the first round. If you took Siakam, the same talent, and for some reason I don't know how this is going to come across, and you put last name Richards, second generation player, his father played, and he was drafted third in the NBA. He'd be on the cover of Slam magazine. He'd be an all-star through and through. Something about Siakam and the way he's projected. Like Leonard too. His first couple of years, Leonard was not a lottery pick. Leonard was drafted 15th overall, right? And it took him a little time to realize his greatness. And Siakam is that kind of player. And frankly, what he delivers to the Raptors is what we were talking about earlier in terms of the Leafs, what they're missing, and that's diversity, multiple ways to defend, multiple ways to score the ball, right? And again, the play of Siakam, and to a lesser extent, Danny Green, and all they have a collection of parts, can sustain injuries, right? Absolutely.
They've proven it. They've proven it. A lot of teams would lose their top 2-3 players, and they just go into the spiral. And this team has found a way to trudge through it. You know, they've had a couple of, small losing streaks, minor, but overall they've been really good. And obviously home court has been a real advantage for the Raptors. But Siakam, by the way, has to be the most improved player in the NBA this year, like by a mile. I don't know how anybody would dispute that, but when you look at what Leonard has brought to the team, the dynamic and how Lowry has played this year, where he's dishing out the ball a lot more, it's not always about, I mean, he still pops up sometimes and puts up threes, and I'm going, why are you doing that? And then he knocks them down. But as a whole, as a collective, what Nick Nurse and his new staff have done here, when Nick Nurse took over this team, everybody went, really? You went through this whole search, you had a guy in-house who's kind of tied to what Dwayne Casey used to do, and this is the guy you want to go with? And so who's arguing that call right now? Nobody, because Nick Nurse has done a great job. And the team as a whole, they're more offensive-minded than they were.
They played a different pace under
Casey
Nurse.
is a very defensive-minded kind of guy, and they still won a lot of games last year. They set a franchise record.
59.
And so now they're on pace to obliterate that the way they're going. And they're not doing it again with a healthy lineup the whole time. But I love the mix. I'm a big basketball guy. Grew up playing ball, high school, college. Still play in a men's league. I mean, I just love the game. I don't like everything about how the basketball has changed now, where everything's relying on the three-pointer all the time. But the fact is, the Raptors have taken advantage of all different situations that have been presented to them. And again, Siakam been a big part of that. Lowry has been a big part of that, but it's just a great story, and there's no reason, and everybody's talking up the Celtics, maybe the Sixers. Look, the Eastern Conference now is deeper than it's been in years. You've got Indiana, who the Raptors are playing in a couple of days, and obviously Philadelphia is a pretty decent team this year. The Celtics, when they get it all going,
as demonstrated when we went into Boston, that was a preview of what playoff basketball
they needed Kyrie to light it up for them to win that game. So the fact is that it's a very tight conference, but a lot of experts who follow the NBA on a regular basis, not just in Canada but in the U.S., are still picking the Raptors to be the team. They want the Celtics because the Celtics have the great name, and it's an American team, and it's all about television ratings and all that, and I get that. But the fact is, the Raptors, to their credit, they keep playing like this. They should win the conference, and there's no reason not to believe that they don't have a shot at getting to the final.
It's interesting if you look back at last season, one Valanciunas missed gimme away from beating Cleveland game 1. You don't know where the season goes. You don't know where Casey's still here. Leonard might be a Clipper. You don't even know. So what it comes down to, irrespective of how the Raptors look today, tomorrow, comes down to playoff time. And from what I see, with all due respect to Indiana, it's a 4-team tournament. Sixers, Bucks, Celtics, Raptors. One of the fours coming out of the East, and we're as good as. Keep saying we, but so be it.
Raptors, we live in
Raptors are as good as anybody.
Of course, I missed the Bucks, and I couldn't have missed the Bucks because they're a very good team.
Yeah,
so it is a good conference, and what it does is when you have more good teams in the conference, it challenges you more, it elevates your game, and then you worry about who you might face in the Western Conference.
Vote Siakam for the All-Star game too.
Oh, absolutely.
So at this point in time, now we have we're going to do a kind of little bit of a shout out, closing up shop here. So Greek has put himself on the line in terms of his football picks. Went 1-1 on the weekend, called the Rams to win outright, so I was patting myself on the back. And then I watched Brady kick me in the ass. So 1-1, not bad. So for today, there's no football. I'm not prepared to delve into the Pro Bowl for next week. I'm still,
I don't know, man. That's a tough call. I don't know who you want to pick there. But.
So you know what? And a shout out to my buddy Emilio at Vivid Tanning. Where's this Emilio character? Let me take a look at my notes. He's at 1019 Coxwell Avenue. You know, sometimes if you look at the camera, you wonder how the Greek is always nice and freshly tan. I can't afford to be taking those exotic...
those Tilley vacations?
No, those Tilley vacations.
Yeah,
you know, the bank account's a little bit lower. I'm not on his level, right? So every now and then, Greek decides to go in and pretend for 8-10 minutes. So if you feel the same way, just visit my buddy Emilio at Vivid Tanning. That's at 1019 Coxwell. Tell him the Greek sent you, and he might shoot you a little bit extra cream. As for the pick today, you know... historically, a lot of my picks don't come from statistical analysis, but they come from memory. And for as long as I can remember, I grew up a basketball fan in the 80s. So I'm talking about Bobby Jones, Mo Cheeks, Andrew Toney. That's my club, right?
Dr. J.
So if you're a Sixer fan, you know even through the Iverson days, the Houston Rockets, no matter what kind of squad they field, and they haven't always fielded a favorite going into Philadelphia. They always win in Philadelphia. This is what my memory tells me. So you know what? If you're out there, take Houston in the 5 points today. Little gift.
Yeah, Martin Luther King Day in the States, so I hope everybody's enjoying their holiday there if you're watching us from the down south. So this has been great. I mean, I really appreciate sitting in for Joe. Like I said, I would have rather sat in with Joe on that boat in Aruba or wherever they are now. That would have been, maybe we should take this show on the road sometimes, just something to think about for the future. But Billy, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I love talking sports all the time. I mean, there's never a time where I don't talk sport. I love it. I grew up, I played it, I've watched it, and I've covered it. And so, I mean, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, when you're in Toronto. You know, good or bad with the Leafs, Raptors, and then the Blue Jays. We didn't even touch the Blue Jays, who have a kind of an interesting season. I think most people. It's a rebuild. It's a rebuild in Toronto with the Jays. Let's just. But
there is rumor that they're pursuing, especially internally, the possibility of bringing Harper to town. And I was thinking, I've also had internal discussions of possibly taking Christy Brinkley over for a burger.
Yeah, there you go. So I think you got a better shot.
Hold on. You think?
I think you got a better shot. Well, with that shirt, you absolutely got a better shot. I don't think Bryce Harper has any interest to come into even if they threw him all the money in the world. Why would he? And it's not a knock on Toronto or the organization. The fact is, they're in a rebuild mode. He wants to win. He's been in a situation where they should have won maybe a little bit in Washington. So maybe it sounds like the Dodgers are really
keen. They open up salary in terms
of. There's a team that wants to win every year.
Yeah,
so
in terms of trading.
If it's not the Yankees, it might be the Dodgers.
Yeah. In terms of trading Puig and the moves they made during the offseason, they're setting themselves up for Harper. Just a matter of time.
I will say that I'm excited to see what Vladdy Guerrero Jr. brings to the Jays. All this hype, all these years, obviously great lineage from his dad, Vlad Sr. So, I mean, he's hit it up everywhere he's been. He's hit up a storm. So let's see how he translates that into the major league level. But so it's going to be a rebuild, but maybe it'll be exciting because you're going to watch some young guys that hopefully, like the Leafs did that first year with Babcock, where they were dead last.
You know what? To build anything, you got to tear it down. Right?
You got to start somewhere.
You got to tear it down.
Anyway.
Before we get going, just a reminder that we're having the Billy and Tilley Show is having a promotional contest for the possibility to win 2 tickets to DeMar DeRozan's return, February 22nd, Air Canada Center. What did you call it earlier?
It's the Scotiabank Arena.
The Scotiabank Air Canada.
They have the arena down on Bay Street.
The arena down on Bay Street. So you ask yourself how you win the contest. You got to come to the corner bank, fill out a ballot, and the code word for the promotion is Greek. You fill out the code word, you drop it in the ballot, and we put you in the ringer for the ability to win 2 tickets for DeMar's return. And
am I eligible? I don't actually work here.
You can sprinkle, so you can sprinkle it.
No, that's going to be a great game. Just with DeMar's return alone. I mean, it's going to. And remember, the Raptors got it handed to them in San Antonio on Kawhi's return. So I know they have some unfinished business, but I think there's going to be a lot of love for DeMar because he did not ask to be traded. he was traded because the team thought they could get better players back, which I think they did. But the fact is, it's going to be an emotional night, to say the least.
Yeah,
right?
and no harder
forget
ticket.
the video tribute. I think
Yeah.
the fans are going to give him a big, rousing
And
standing ovation,
deservedly so.
yeah.
No hotter ticket in town. Come to the corner bank, fill out a ballot, and spend the evening with us. We're coming live February 16th, 6 p.m. Again, thanks to Claude for filling in today.
My pleasure,
it was
man.
awesome. It was awesome sharing a little time with you. When I first heard that, Joe told me that he had an old buddy of his at CTV that was going to come and help out. And you know what? I got excited. I'm not going to lie. I always wanted to
You
meet
thought it was going to be Dave Duvall.
I always
That's
wanted to
why,
meet
yeah.
Sunil Joshi.
Oh, Sunil, yeah.
But
No,
you
great
were
guy,
good
yeah.
too, my man.
No, I
Thank you
appreciate
again,
it.
all right?
Thanks, Billy.
Take care, folks. Thank you
Thanks,
for
folks.
tuning in.
Have a great day.